Well, the NAMAs are really designed to both meet local sustainable development, health, mobility goals, and greenhouse gas goals. So they have a broader appeal to political leaders in those countries. So to the extent we can do real investments in these NAMAs, we can build a program that has sustainability, that appeals to local goals as well as to donor goals, and then can be sustainable and last over time.
I think that the majority of the NAMAs that we have received are project type, and most of them are the results of actions such as the National Technology Assessment, the TNAs. So you will see that there's no single project, but if a country has sent projects, it has likely sent a bunch of them on renewable energy, on transport, so covering basically all sectors.
The first set of criteria deals with the climate, the mitigation potential and costs of these proposed measures. So it's cost effectiveness, greenhouse gas mitigation potential. Then the next one deals with the national ownership, engagement of relevant ministries, use of country systems. The next one deals with basically the sound basis from a banker's view, I mean financial capabilities of the implementing partner. And the fourth pillar deals with monitoring, reporting and verification, which we believe should be sound, but it should also be cost effective and appropriate. It should not be an objective of its own to be implemented irrespective of the context of the set of measures.
I think the private companies are engaged, but they engage in places where rules are defined. And they are engaged in low carbon sectors, renewables being the largest. It has been the largest mobilization of climate capital ever, and it's happened in the last couple of years. The CDM has helped, but it's also been mostly because governments have taken national policy actions. And therefore, in the countries and the sectors where governments are defining policies, so setting the rules, the private sector is engaging. I think that the concern is more globally that without a defined rule-based approach, today it is difficult for the private sector to know global strategies, particularly for the larger parts of the private sector community, about what they should be doing. But I think the real excitement is going to shift national. Now, national is going to be delivered mostly by domestic industries, but obviously there's a role for large international actors, but they will mostly be engaging nationally. And I think that there are many rules, and these rules are changing all the time. They're getting better, and some places they're slipping it back a little bit. But there is a constant process of learning from and giving feedback loops in terms of putting processes and setting rules that are getting better and better, and in that sense allows the private sector to engage in more and more serious ways.
The key with the NAMA financing is that it is the catalyst. It leverages that next set of investments. So a Colombia doing solid waste basically sets policies that make it attractive for the private sector to play, and then we create with the NAMA support, with longer loan maturities, that sort of thing, the chance to really finance these and know that you'll make a decent return. So you're really after setting up a situation where the private sector can make a bankable return on the investment, and then they'll go for it. So NAMAs are the catalyst. With the decline in the CDM, all this fervent interest in developing countries is going to face a loss of market. It has translated into broader interest in broader policies that reduce emissions in the host country. And that opportunity is out there. And so this financing for NAMAs can grab that enthusiasm, that energy, and run with it. If we fail to do that, we'll lose that energy and we may lose our overall goal. So it's really important in this next 3-year period that we finance some of these, that they're really good poster children examples, great stories that can be replicated, and it starts us on a path that's much better in terms of a long-term solution.
Do we wait for the rules to be defined, or do we go out to do things that we hope we can learn from in defining the rules? And I think it's that second approach that we have an opportunity right now within a window, is to say that by the time governments are able to lock in on a new agreement, we want them to lock in the right way. And the the period now up until that process, we need to very quickly try to figure out what those approaches are and how can you essentially align interests between public and private, between developing countries in a way that you can get a very efficient process of countries locally deciding and implementing actions, and some of those actions being financed internationally through different types of mechanisms, whether they're new market mechanisms or other approaches, to allow them to achieve what they themselves have decided is appropriate for their economy.
Sí, en efecto contamos con la cooperación de Nefco para la implementación de un programa que apoye las acciones de mitigación en el sector de residuos sólidos municipales a nivel nacional, y este programa se enfocará en el diseño del NAMA. También considera realizar un inventario de todos la recolección de los residuos sólidos. Establecerá también cuáles son las emisiones, el escenario de la línea de base y las potenciales reducciones. También facilitará el entendimiento sobre las opciones financieras para financiar nuevos proyectos.
Under the support of the Nordic Partnership Initiative, we worked together in developing the NAMA in the cement sector for Vietnam. The project has been formulated and submitted to the government for approval to start. It is about the data analysis, the baseline setting, and capacity building. And finally, we come up with the NAMA readiness in the cement sector for Vietnam.
Yeah, Chile is a great example. I mean, you've got a country where they need 10,000 megawatts of new electric capacity by 2020. Today, that'll mainly come from imported coal. So their climate position is going to be much worse in 10 years than it is today. They've been a leader up till now. We are going to step in this market with a NAMA where we would give a guaranteed price to solar and wind and tidal developers so they can get bank financing, so they can fill that 10,000 megawatt gap. So for a small investment, say $15 million, we can catalyze a huge investment. We've met with the banks, we've met with the developers, they're really excited. So just providing that kind of certainty in the market will motivate a significant development of renewables, which is huge potential in Chile, but low capacity factors make it very hard to get the financing.
The local government had a problem. They were subsidizing use of a fossil fuel, which was LPG gas. They knew that as the prices of gas went up, they were paying more than they could afford, and they knew that there was a cleaner technology, being solar water heaters, that each one that got installed on a Tunisian rooftop would save them money. And the question was, how could they facilitate this transition from dirty to clean in a way that was market savvy, market friendly? And so I think the ability, and it is a model type of a NAMA, where you have governments who have ownership, who are able to put in place, test out, and then put in place a policy and have the international community to back them where they needed it, and the final point, that they were able to access to the international carbon markets, and I think in future would be other types of potential market mechanisms, that it gave them the full slate of support and of ownership they needed to get us success.